The Sweet Sound of Success show is brought to you by the Mentor Studio. The Mentor Studio is an exclusive mentoring and training program for social influencers, business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, and startups, bringing personal development to the underserved around the world. And brought to you by Success Strategists. Simple strategies that work to develop your business with flow and ease using proven strategies and the right tactics. This is the Sweet Sound of Success with Sue Wilhite, Success Attraction Expert. Michael Overlie is an energy healer, canine-partnered energy coach, author, and lifelong dog fanatic. He has a gift of connecting with animals since he was a small child. Dogs have been with him most of his life, giving him gifts and teaching him lessons. His greatest breakthrough was after the death of his brother. While grieving this loss, he was fully awakened to his own potential and the gifts our animals bring to our lives. Now he helps other men awaken to the gifts available to them from their dogs. He has dedicated himself to assisting men and their dogs discover their path to living a life of purpose and being extraordinary. This is Michael's purpose and mission on this earth. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, I've been a lifelong fan of animals and pestered my parents when I was a kid to have a dog, but we lived in apartments when I was a kid and dogs were not allowed, but they did let me have cats. But I tried to start my own dog walking business when I was like 8.
Oh, no kidding.
So that I could have dogs in my life. So
aren't you clever?
I tried. So I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. So I'm thrilled to have you on the show. I'm thrilled that your hero's journey includes the canine companions and mentors. And for those in my audience who are not clear on what the hero's journey is all about, the hero's journey was a label that mythologist Joseph Campbell put on stories and myths and legends that he discovered around the world. There is a pattern and kind of an overlay of cycles that people have told stories around forever, millennia. And he's identified 16 common elements. We're not doing those. We're boiling it down to 5. Those 5 elements are the ordinary beginning, the call to action, the I guess it's not necessarily appropriate in this one. I usually call them the big hairy monsters.
That's how some people see it. That's okay. That's where they're at.
Right. I did that. I call it that to avoid what Joseph Campbell calls the dragons, slaying the dragons, because I like dragons.
I love dragons. Right? I've got a dragon right there.
Ooh, nice dragon.
Oh.
Cool. So I wanted to avoid that. So I guess we'll keep big hairy monsters, but essentially the challenges that you come up with. And sometimes the challenges and the call to action turn out to be very similar. And then there are the allies, mentors, guides, coaches, those people, and we use the word people very loosely here, who have helped you along the way. And then there are those who just don't get it. Joseph Campbell calls this the journey home. And he's calling it that because once you have made the transformation, once you have been on the journey, once you have encountered the big hairy monsters, you are changed. But people who didn't go along with you on that journey, people who didn't have your experiences, they haven't changed. And they may not understand what you're doing or why it's important or any of that. And so they tend to be a little bit, at best puzzled, at worst judgmental,
Yeah.
and kind of forbidding. So that's always a fun part to go through. So Michael, what was your ordinary beginning?
My ordinary beginning. Wow. Middle class family, just growing up through life. Didn't realize till later how scared I was of everything.
Oh,
So it was really interesting. I was a bright kid, enjoyed some sports, but learned later how afraid I was. It was really fascinating. But I did all kinds of fun stuff. Always loved the animals. I remember stealing kittens from my neighbor's house and making up a story about how they ended up in my possession.
I
Um,
see.
yeah, first dog when I was 5, just an amazing animal. He was with me for 16 years.
Oh,
Just a crazy Australian Shepherd mix named Sage. And yeah, he saw me through a lot of things. And again, I didn't realize some of this until later. But
wow.
yeah, just standard American kid growing up and dealing with stuff.
So what was your call to action? What brought you to the brink, as it were?
Oh, so almost exactly 5 years ago, my older brother died,
Hmm.
and this was incredibly painful and powerful for me. I always kind of looked out for him. He had a lot of health issues, multiple heart surgeries,
Hmm.
learning disabilities, was paralyzed at 18. I mean, this guy had been through the ringer, right? And he was the most beautiful man I ever knew. He was sweet and helpful and loving and kind. So I looked out for him in a lot of different ways. And then, yeah, it wasn't a shocker that he died, but it was still quite painful. And what came from this was I was just torn open, and all these things that I never dealt with in my life started pouring out. And it was amazingly hard and painful. But what came from that was this changed perspective, and I started to see things differently and notice things. And I was like, wow, there's so much more out there. And that's when I realized I didn't like who I was.
Hmm.
So I've been on this incredible journey to remember who I am at my core, right? Way down deep inside, underneath all the stuff we buried it under. Um, that's been my journey, and it's been fantastic. And these dogs, I realized throughout my life, have helped me in so many ways. And there was an animal that was with me during this period who has since passed, but he was the catalyst for all of this. He showed me the doorway, and he says, "Here, let me show you this." It was amazing.
Hmm. Yes, I have had animals myself help me through some grieving processes and um, some very stressful periods
Mm.
in my life, because dogs especially are like, oh, I get it that you're sad and I'll be here, and oh, look, a squirrel. Hey, let's go have fun chasing a stick.
Yeah. Oh, that's a huge point. They're
Right.
masters of presence,
Yeah.
right? So, like when I was 12, my dad split,
Mm.
and I got it in my head that it was my fault.
Right.
And this, I was depressed. I was suicidal, and I had this amazing dog, Sage, this wacky Australian Shepherd mix. He could at times just hold space for me and just sit with me and put his head against me and just not move like for hours.
Mm.
And then he'd be like, "No, let's go play." So he would bring me back to the present moment over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's what they do.
Mhm.
So, so you've touched on some of what we'll still call the big hairy monsters that were there. Were there any other challenges that you found along the way that the dogs were helping you with?
Oh my gosh, yes. So before my brother even passed away, I had put myself through a lot of stuff. Got arrested a couple of times, alcoholic, bad marriage. So there was a lot of things along the way where I just wasn't waking up. And I had these dogs though. The period where I was getting in trouble with the law, I didn't have my dogs. I
Uh-huh.
didn't have a dog in my life. Well, it was actually one of my dogs when I was married that showed me that no, it's you need to go take care of yourself. You need to get out.
Right.
That was amazing. So, yeah, all kinds of big scary monsters. I've gotten in all kinds of trouble and done a lot of dumb things. Mostly for seeking other people's approval or trying to get attention. I can see that now, but uh, yeah, now the big hairy monsters have they've become allies. They were lessons I needed to learn.
Right. Right. It's one of those things where you look at, it's not that you exactly want to repeat them. Don't do that again.
No.
And yet it's like, oh, okay. I'm not exactly glad I went through that, but that was a good thing for me to learn. I'm sorry I had to learn it that way, but I'm good with that.
Exactly. Well, we've all got choices. No matter where we are, we can choose. I can go left. I can go right. We may not like our choices, but we can still choose.
Yeah.
And I accept full responsibility for the decisions that I didn't make as well, right? Or poorly, or I was an idiot, whatever you want to frame it. I
You were
take responsibility for that because that was me. I chose in that moment to do that thing.
right. And you were unhappy with the result of that choice.
Absolutely.
That's what I tell people. There's no such thing as a bad decision. There's being unhappy with the result, but that does not make it a bad decision.
Oh, I like that. Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome. Hey, this is what I do in coaching. So, who besides the dogs might have been some of your allies and mentors?
Oh, good one. My mom.
Mhm.
I mean, we've got our own challenges, but she always loved us and had our best interests at heart. Um, Execution of said duties may not have been beneficial all the time, but that's just life.
Mhm.
But she was always there, right? I knew that no matter what happened, I could call her at 2 a.m. and she'd answer, or she'd give me a hand. I've had some friends who are incredible mentors. My best friend Mike Nooner, lives in San Diego. He, I think he was the first guy who just fully accepted me no matter what. He was the
Mhm.
first man in my life, similar in age, but he didn't care. He didn't, he's a big guy, 6'6", right? I'm 5'6". He didn't care that I was short and this, that, whatever. None of it. He just fully accepted me. And that was like the most amazing thing for me to be accepted by somebody else no matter what.
Right.
That's not like your mom or whatever. He
Right.
placed no expectations on anything, and that was like the most amazing thing. But I've had other martial arts senseis and other people who put some really formative things in my mind. So yeah, nobody goes alone. There's always someone along the way that does something for you, whether you want to recognize that or not.
Right. And you can't do it alone. As human beings, and especially as entrepreneurs, you can't.
No.
Not going to happen.
Nope.
So, what about the journey home? What about those folks who might have been a little bit not so accepting? And how did you respond to them?
Oh, poorly. um, yeah, it's hard when we feel judged. It's like this just taking the bricks out from underneath our little stand of self-worth.
Mhm.
So, somebody doesn't agree. Someone tells us this, you're stupid. You don't know what you're doing. We keep losing height on this, and our perspective keeps changing. And we forget who we are. So self-esteem and self-worth are such a big part of the reason we do things throughout our life. Again, I didn't know this before.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been able to get into a much better place where I don't have to agree, but I will respect the fact that you don't understand or that you don't agree with me. And I'm much less likely to get triggered by someone else's response. I have a lot of folks, because I do something that's kind of a little out there, and that's totally fine, and I guess I'm kind of a pioneer. We'll see what happens. But there's a lot of people who don't get it and go, what the hell? What's wrong with you? What are you talking about? So I just go, oh, okay. Yeah, you may be right. Smile, nod, and move on with my day. So, because I'm on this crazy mission and I love it, and I'm going to go help a bunch of people.
Right.
So I wrote a book.
You have to sit. Aw.
Called I get myself out of my own way. Let Your Dog Lead. This is my introduction, more so to men, right? That there's a different way to be, different way to live.
Wonderful. So let your dog lead. Boy, I bet that is something that would be interesting for a lot of what you might call alpha males to get behind.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you for being on my show and sharing your hero's journey. Thank you for bringing this out more into the world, because I think people need more of what you're doing these days.
Well, thank you. I think they do too. I sure as heck needed it. So that I was like, oh my God, I need to share this. Other people need to hear about this.
Right. So once again, thank you so much for being here. And thank you to my audience on the sweet sound of success. What are your dreams for your business? You know what drives me crazy? Really smart business owners denying their talents because they've been taught it has to be hard, because they've been taught that they don't deserve their gifts, that they're not worth anything. They've been taught that their gender means they can't express their genius. I'm Sue Wilhite, and I want you to have access to your genius. I want you to go out and rock the world with your genius. So I created the Call to Action coaching program. It's all about getting to the heart of you and what you've got to share with the world to make a profitable business that thrives and allows you to make a difference in the world. Click the link to sign up for the Call to Action coaching program today. Don't let your genius go unnoticed.